for the competition is free speech in social media, democracy or anarchy. And those who will be speaking for the motion, they choose democracy, and those who are speaking against the motion, they have chosen anarchy.
Good morning, everyone. This is Akansha Acharya standing before you to speak for the motion that free speech in social media favors democracy. The world of social media is a charming place. As my worthy opponent already has mentioned, it gives us a worldwide forum to express ourselves and is without a doubt one of the greatest inventions of our times. Social media has no boundaries, no segregation on the basis of culture, class, or race. Anyone who can pay for it can use social media to his or her benefit. It reinforces the right to freedom of speech and expression as enshrined under Article 19(1)(a) of the Indian Constitution. Free speech, as you know, is the very stitch that keeps the fabric of democracy together. Nowadays, every politician worth his salt needs to join the social media bandwagon. This is because social media websites have had such an important role to play in elections all around the world, be it USA, Iran, or India itself. Won't you agree that now there is a sharp break from traditional top-down politics, where the politician talks and the people listen? Awareness spread by social media has played catalyst in ensuring political transparency by exposing the various shortcomings and misgovernances of various governments by the help of satires, caricatures, and whatnot. The recent initiative by Times Now to end VIP culture only gained such massive momentum because it spread like wildfire on social media. Culprits who otherwise would have never been recognized and caught are now behind bars only because of social media. Protests by the poorer sections of our society often go ignored by our newspapers and TV channels. But there is no scope of them being ignored on social media. Maybe the huge potholes on my road may be of no interest to the local newspaper or the BMC. But a few pictures of it on my social site might gather hundreds of likes and comments and some possible civic action. The awareness in people has seen a tremendous rise. Social media has provided an accessible medium for the people to raise their voice and have that voice heard. Democracy and social media are by the people, for the people, and of the people. And isn't that, my dear friends, the very spirit of democracy? Thank you.
That free speech in social media is a fundamental right provided by our Constitution, and at the same time, we should keep in mind to use these rights according to certain rules and regulations. Using such rights are appreciated till the time it does not violate any other law or hurt the sentiments of other citizens. The present scenarios has many instances that show how right to speech is putting the sentiments of other people at stake. I'd like to share one such incident. Recently, a 12th class girl scored very well marks in her board exams, and she was the topper of her school. But due to this achievement, she became a victim of cyberbullying only because, as any other student, she posted on a social media site that she hated studying. This went viral when she secured top marks in boards. People started making jokes out of the whole issue, ignoring the fact that it might hurt her sentiments and endanger her privacy. Such instances makes us feel so ashamed, and I'm afraid to state that in the name of right to speech, the social media has broken all norms of decency. The issues regarding cyberbullying, which is done by misusing the right to speech, has reached such a height of seriousness that the victims across the world are falling into depression and end up committing suicide. Finally, I'd like to sum up by saying that free speech in social media is good, but only to
nation security, then there are laws which can prevent this. But ISIS,
The moment you prevent, it's not democracy. Because there is no freedom of speech.
sir, ISIS is an international organization. If there is enough power to stop them, this freedom is governed by laws, so they can stop them easily. And this can easily be done if the countries have that power.
Said freedom of speech might be democracy, but unfettered freedom, like a freedom without rules and regulations, is anarchy.
How do you regulate freedom with rules and regulations?
So
These are to the opposite sides. Freedom and rules regulations don't go together.
When it comes to social media, as my opponent said, that people have the right to use it. So if there's the awareness amongst people and people get to control it, then only we can bring some changes in our social media's places today.
Would there be an Arabian Spring without the social media fueling the revolution? Could the Jan Lokpal Bill, Andolan, led by Anna Hazare, be successful without the support of social media? Could Namo's magic have ever worked without the help of social media? If the answer to all these questions is an emphatic no, then free social media and democracy are complementary to each other. Social media has forever changed how we interact. The ability to reach the masses in an almost effortless manner never existed in a pre-internet world. Now, with just a mere click of a button, we can post pictures in Instagram, update our daily status in Facebook, and do many more things with YouTube and WhatsApp. Social media has created a worldwide forum for expressing our views and opinions, and this forum should not be restricted or censored.
Freedom is always relative and is accompanied by responsibility. Article 19 of the Indian Constitution provides for the fundamental freedom of speech and expression. However, it also provides for reasonable restrictions on such freedom in the interest of public order. Freedom of speech in social media is no exception to this principle. Good morning to one and all present over here. This is Pratyay Panigrahi of class 10, and today I'll be speaking against the motion that is freedom of speech in social media leads to anarchy in the society. Anarchy is a state of normlessness where there is no order or discipline. Freedom of speech in social media such as Twitter, Facebook, and various other social networking websites leads to the free exchange of thoughts and the widening of access to information. However, if this is not regulated through social media etiquette, then it can have dangerous consequences. A case in point is the promotion of hate speech against different religions, races, and communities that divide society and create social turmoil and violence. As said by my predecessor Arnav, different terrorist organizations such as ISIS and Al-Qaeda use terrorism in social media to indoctrinate young and impressionable minds into religious fundamentalism and the commission of terrorist acts under the pretext of jihad. The circulation of obscenity is another threat that emanates from the unrestricted use of social media. Free access to social media on the part of adolescents creates a virtual world for them, which adversely affects their mental health and social adjustment. There is therefore a need to monitor and regulate the social media behavior of people.
Is good or bad?
Now, how will you feel if lot of abuses, wrong things are given in the Facebook against you?
So if they are correct, then I will take it as a positive remark and change myself. But if they are wrong, then I won't pay any attention to these abuses.
But you'll feel good.
So we are in a democracy, so people have the right to speak.
So you'll tell that since it's democracy, you just go on writing whatever you want to write. I will just not look at it.
No, sir, if it is correct, then I'll take it as a positive remark.
No, if it is wrong.
And change myself.
Normally it is wrong. Normally it is.
Then I won't pay any attention to it.
So you'll close your eyes.
Content, we can inspire movement and ignite changes. Good morning, esteemed jury members, respected teachers, and my dear friends. I'm Ipsita, here to speak about why free speech in social media is considered would be democratic. Now, I'm sure many of you here are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all these social websites. They help us to connect with people and share our views on various matter and bring upcoming events. Now, in many instances, they are not being utilized properly. Have you heard of a French satirical magazine called Charlie Hebdo? It used to publish insulting and racist cartoon depictions of Prophet Muhammad and the Islamic people. Because of this, the French government and the Muslim organizations decided to sue this magazine since it was offensive to the Islamic people. This is an example of a perfect democratic step towards this situation in social media. But in spite of this, the people went ahead and edited yet another issue which stated against Islamism in 2006. This eventually led to terrorist attack in 2012 and 2015. After that, death of 12 people. Now, in my opinion, I strongly disapprove of what they convey, of the message they conveyed to the people, but I strongly defend their right to say it. Now, you might think that this is not democratic, but since we are granted the freedom of speech and expression, that doesn't mean we're protected from the consequences that we will suffer. I would like to conclude by saying that freedom of speech and expression is not simply the freedom to think and say what you want, but it's the freedom to express yourself, to speak from the heart, and to accept the consequences of your words. Thank you.
To estimate. Good morning to one and all present over here. I am Shrishti Patil, standing before you to speak against the motion and explain why free speech in social media leads to anarchy. The freedom of speech, as per our constitution, allows us to speak freely but with limitations. Free speech, the newer, self-made version of our fundamental right, means we express ourselves extensively. These days, social media has become a huge platform where people are venting out their thoughts and opinions and using it as a weapon to abuse anyone, anytime, anywhere. Let us look at its impact, starting from an individual basis. According to the Injury Prevention and Control Center, suicide is the second-ranking cause of death due to cyberbullying. We have deaths due to social media, but we also have social media due to deaths. The public outrage of people was quite evident from the recent farmer's death at the AAP rally. Actors and actresses committing suicide, the famous Nirbhaya scandal are all on the list. Next, let us move further to an organization. In order to sensationalize events, social media often presents exaggerated versions of every story, like the Maggie case, which has now wreaked havoc and left everyone in chaos and paranoia, irrespective of the clarity of the facts. And it takes 2 minutes for us to make Maggie, and it took 2 minutes for the Nestle company to watch its own downfall just due to the hype of social media. Next, on to politics. Recently, investigative websites have exposed certain IT firms for misusing social media. They have helped politicians to artificially boost their popularity by getting fake likes and followers. Politicians also use social media to destroy their opponent's reputation and to spread negative publicity. Isn't this what anarchy is? Confusion, delusion, chaos, lawlessness, deaths? Is this what social media was created for? Free speech in social media is like wildfire. If you tame it, it might help you. But if you let it loose, it will surely burn you down. Thank you.
What I hear, I forget. What I see, I remember. What I do, I understand. And what I believe, I speak. So if all my possessions were to be taken away from me with one exception, I would choose my power of speaking. For by it, I would be able to regain all my lost possessions. And if anybody here wishes to curtail this birthright of mine, remember, Lord Sai is watching us and shall do justice. Good morning, everyone. This is Tanmay standing before you to speak strongly for the motion on the topic, freedom of speech in social media being democratic. Not to mention the fact that my worthy opponents here are able to criticize this just because of the mere existence of it in the real world. Because as it is such a platform where even the cries of the mute can be heard, even by those who try to act deaf in the real world. Its cultural and participatory rights are really noticeable in the real world. They bring all the unethical and undemocratic practices to the notice. All global examples like the Kosovo conflict about Milosevic's government to the Arab Spring give a true idea about what it is. And giving India as example, It is not every day that you find 12,000 people criticizing the unethical and undemocratic move of the foreign minister of a country to help someone who was once the blue-eyed boy of the cricket industry. And now, quoting United Nations Special Rapporteur, Mr. Frank Larue, after a discussion over the same topic in the United Nations conference, I quote, "The right to freedom of speech in social media is hierarchically and in every possible way democratic because it allows everyone in this world to express their view, be it social, economic or political, on various aspects of life. And that is, in the true sense, the very essence of democracy."
Restrictions and curbing of rights, major restrictions were imposed on freedom of speech and the news media. Thus, India no longer remained a democracy, and that led the US President to make this statement. Respected Chairman, Sir, August gathering, and my dear friends, a very good morning to each one sitting here. Today, I, Siddhi Satpathy, am here to present my views for the motion. Freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is to be able to express one's opinion and views without any restriction on any means, including social media. But why? Why are free speeches considered so important? Free speeches act as a tool in nurturing social evolution. They help in development by sharing of ideas. A bright example of this is the Swachh Bharat page on Facebook, continuously motivating people to keep our country clean.
If we talk about freedom of speech and expression, but distinguishing between the appropriate and inappropriate content is actually a Hercule's task, because every day so much of new content is added to the internet, but it's just virtually impossible to monitor it all and decide what constitutes free speech and what constitutes the inappropriate content. The Facebook's statement on rights and responsibilities clearly states that you are not allowed to post anything which is hateful and can incite violence. Everyone, just think for once, does actually any one of us seem to follow this? No.
If this tool called Facebook would have been with the Britishers in 1875, and how it would have saved India?
It would have been actually good, because in today's world also, you see, we have, like I said, the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan pages on Facebook.
Britishers would have created something like Swachh Bharat.
So, in today's world, most of us prefer the internet more than the newspaper. So if the Britishers would have started some movement, then it had been much...
For the good of India?
Yeah, I mean, they would have just go to
Britishers
Facebook, just make a post. Yeah.
Did Britishers do anything good for India that time?
So Britishers have done many things good for India.
So you are in favor of Britishers?
No, sir, I'm not in favor of Britishers, but I will not say that the Britishers were, I mean, they have not done anything for our country, because they've got the railways, the telephone that we have today, in fact, the technology that we have today.
So they should have stayed in our country for few more.
No, sir, they shouldn't have stayed in our country. But they have come and they have done something for our country.
So they have done good for our country, but they should not have stayed.
So they have done something good for our country.
So they have done something good, so they should have stayed for some period.
So everything has a negative point. There is nothing in this world that has all positive points to it.
It is practically more possible that people's opinions can be considered while making a decision. This is the very reason we see various leaders were being active on social media.
If you are doing something right and trying to do something good, the repercussion can be that a snake will come and eat it. So the social media cannot be construed, though we had given the topic, the social media cannot be construed that whether it is universally good or bad. It's all situational, and some speakers did touch that. It's situational.